Am I the asshole for calling the police on my neighbors and calling her and her husband pedophiles at their Hallovenn party? Yes, that is spelled correctly. Party? This is a throwaway account. My husband, who is 39 years old, and I, who am 35 years old, moved to this country when we first got married due to his work. We had our first child, a 6-year-old girl, here. He was then moved to Germany, where our other 2 children, a 4-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl, were born. His company decided to move him back here, but to the opposite side of the country from where we lived last time, after we had our 4th child, a 5-month-old girl. So, needless to say, we know the culture despite not being native. Our daughter started school this August for the first time, and many of her classmates live in the same area we do. One of the boys in her class lives at the end of the road behind us. When we first moved into the neighborhood back in May, we were welcomed by a few of our close neighbors and this boy's mother. Let's call her Astrid. She took a liking to my baby, but most people fuss over babies, so I did not think much of it. That same day, she told me how she had lost 2 baby girls and how lucky I was to have so many girls while she only had 3 boys. The next day, she came with her husband, let's call him Morton, and he too wanted to hold the baby and paid her many compliments. Then he met our oldest daughter and made a remark that I did not think much of at the time. He said my daughter and his son could easily pass for twins since they are in the same class and look alike. They do not. My daughter has very blonde hair and gray eyes, while their son has dark blonde hair and hazel eyes. So I corrected him. He pretended to be offended and said what he meant was that she could pass for his daughter and the baby too. Again, I corrected them, saying that with his light brown hair and hazel eyes, neither of my girls could. He insisted again, saying he meant their features, not the coloring. Then he laughed it off and said he was just joking. They then invited us to go out for drinks, but we declined, since neither of us drinks and we prefer not to be too friendly with neighbors. During the summer, when we bumped into them at the local store a few times, Morton and Astrid would call her eldest and sing a song from a famous movie here. After a few times, I told them to stop, as it was no longer funny. Since May and up until a week ago, they tried to invite us to many get-togethers, which I found strange since they rarely invited the neighbors they had known longer than us. Morton and Astrid would often talk to my daughter on her way back from school, as she passes their house on the way home, and she said it bothers her because they both tried to pick her up, and Astrid tried a few times to touch her hair. When my husband confronted them about it, they said it is just the culture here. It is not. The picking up and touching her hair stopped after that. At the beginning of October, they wanted us to help them host a Hallovenn party at the end of October and wanted us to meet them at their house to coordinate the children's costumes, especially the twins. We declined again as we do not celebrate Halloween. They tried to convince us otherwise and were very pushy. Their son even knocked on our door a few times to play with his twin after school. Knocking on doors to play with other children is normal, and most children roam freely as it is a safe neighborhood and country, so that part was never suspicious to me. However, after the umpteenth time of calling my daughter one of his twins, I put my foot down and said he needed to stop joking about it as it was not funny anymore. My husband goes offshore at times due to his work, and it has been just me and the children since mid-October. My daughter's teacher, who also lives in the neighborhood, is a childhood friend of Astrid. She was present in the park by our house when Astrid came up to me and handed me 3 costumes, one for each of my girls. She said that since we do not celebrate Halloween, she and her husband had decided to host a Hallovenn party instead, and wanted my girls to wear these. I was shocked, but told her no, it would not happen. The teacher tried to convince me that this would be a nice way to meet other families and would be fun for our children. Astrid said she had spent a lot of money adjusting the costumes and had found the right hairstyle for my daughter to go as Gretel to her son Hans. I told her no one made her spend the money, as I had made it very clear that none of my children would be going. Right in front of me, she took the hairband off my daughter's hair and tried to put on one she had bought for the costume. I told her to stop and started walking away. She tried to apologize and said to relax, we are neighbors and friends. Her teacher followed me and said not to be uptight and that Astrid meant no harm, she just likes girls. On Monday, my daughter came home with a different hairstyle and accessories than what I had sent her off with.
I asked her how she got them, and she said her teacher had done her hair during lunch. I asked if she had played rough so her hair needed fixing, and she said no. The next morning, I spoke to her teacher, who confirmed that she had fixed her hair and Astrid had bought the items. I asked why she would go against my wishes, to which she said it was only hair accessories and Astrid did not want to throw them away since she had spent money on them. She thought that with 3 daughters, I would appreciate some free accessories. She also said I had not made it explicitly clear not to fix her hair. I left after telling her to never do it again and returned the items. In the evening, the neighborhood children went trick-or-treating. Those participating were informed it would last from 6 to 8 o'clock. I let my daughter go play with one of the other girls who was not trick-or-treating. At about 7 o'clock, I couldn't hear them, so I went outside to check, and they were not there. I asked one of the other children if they had seen her, and they said Morton and Astrid had picked her up in their car and her friend had gone home. I asked my next-door neighbor to watch my other 2 children while I ran with the baby to their place. When I arrived, they were having a party in the garden, and my daughter was there. She had her hair done, was holding a candy bag, and was wearing the costume. In my anger, I called the police before speaking to anyone, and once I got off the call, I called both of them pedophiles and everything under the sun in multiple languages. When the police arrived and I spoke to them, we left. Today at school, her teacher was very curt with me and said there was no need for that, as Morton volunteers for the children's football club. Having a police report filed on him was not the wisest choice. She explained that if I was not happy, I should have asked for a mediation appointment at the school instead of embarrassing Astrid and Morton in front of everyone. She also mentioned that it was she who helped my daughter change into the costume, and it is not unusual for teachers to help their students change, here. That part is partially true for this country. She said Astrid has been grieving, and her behavior is normal for someone who lost so many children, one after another, and not to make it harder on her, as people have gossiped quite a bit about it. She said they did not know they had crossed a line, and it would not happen again, so I should drop the complaint at the police. On Friday, I have to make a full statement at the police station. She wants me to cancel it, as Astrid and Morton are not bad people, and she thinks I should be glad someone thinks so highly of my daughter. She was not harmed, and she sees no reason for me to be angry, as the children all play in each other's gardens anyway. She said not to blow things out of proportion, as at no point was my daughter alone with Morton. Am I the asshole for calling the police instead of pursuing mediation at the school first, since their actions came from a place of love and grief?
Top comments. You are not the asshole. You stated repeatedly and in front of witnesses that neither you nor your daughter would go to the party. They had no permission to pick her up. They did not ask nor inform you. That is basically kidnapping. I would ask for a school mediation, but between you and the teacher to request that your child be moved to a different class, because that woman will always protect her best friend. Maybe I am just overly cynical, but their insistence on calling your daughter their son's twin, despite you asking them to stop, is a massive red flag for me, not only because they are repeatedly ignoring your boundaries, but also because it creates a precedent. You are alone, and your husband is away, and will be away for a while still. Trust your instincts and enforce distance if needed. There are not enough pupils to move her to another class, as there is only one class. I will also ask for school mediation, as I want the principal to know about this teacher's behavior now. The police did not call it kidnapping that evening. I do not generally comment on posts. I am a long-time lurker, but I wanted to say something because I suspect you live in the country where I grew up, but no longer live. In many places in that country, there is a lot of naivete around predatory and dangerous behavior, especially in rural areas, but also in cities. I grew up in a tiny village, yet there were several people in that village who were predatory, and their behavior was always excused or enabled. People who grew up together protect each other, especially in smaller places, and they excuse inappropriate behavior. Having lost a child myself, I can imagine the pain those parents would feel, but never would my loss turn me to obsess over someone else's child. That is not a normal reaction. You are not overreacting, and you are right. Fixating on a child that is not yours and randomly picking up someone else's child is not normal behavior, nor is it cultural. You are not the asshole. I do not know where you grew up, but many Norwegians have defended the behavior of Astrid and Morton, both in replies to my post and in harassing direct messages sent to me. So maybe here it is normal. I just came back from the police, and I have a follow-up appointment with them, as my daughter was too tired to finish her side of the interview for the statement. Coincidentally, the police officer who came into the interview was a former boyfriend of the teacher. He was not supposed to be there, as we had 2 female police officers, but he hovered for a bit and then left. Even during the interview, both female officers said it could have been a misunderstanding. Update 1. Thank you for all the reassurances. It was helpful. Many people asked for an update, and many sent direct messages to see how it was going. We filed a report at the police station, and basically we were dismissed. We had 2 female officers on the first day, but a male police officer came in, offered us some water, and tried to make small talk. He is the ex of my daughter's teacher, and told us as much. We had to do the report over 2 days, as on the first day my daughter was too tired to relay all the details for the statement. At the second appointment, we had the 2 female police officers, and his ex also joined us. It seemed like he had already talked to her teacher about it, but he denied it when I confronted him, citing confidentiality. I was told they would have a word with Astrid and Morton, but I doubt they took it seriously, since all 3 kind of defended their actions, wanting to know why I wouldn't let my daughter go to a party. When we got home, we had a knock on the door in the evening, and it was Astrid and Morton. I did not open the door. I phoned the police, and they said if they become violent, call back. In the meantime, just open the door and tell them you do not want to talk to them. I did not, and they left. They left a message in my mailbox. It was a long message about how they felt connected to my daughter and how I should take better care of her, how they know what it feels like to lose a child, and that they only want the best for her. On the 15th, I kept my daughter from school as she said Astrid's son kept teasing her. Instead, I spoke to the principal about the matter and explained that I needed this absence validated. I took my daughter to the store, and I think maybe I was followed, because not 5 minutes had gone by when Astrid walked in and bumped into me by the dairy section. She apologized and blocked me in with her cart because I tried to get away. She started talking to my daughter and tried to stroke my baby's hair, so I screamed. That made her walk away from me. The next day, I found another note in my mailbox telling me not to be so hysterical, and I have that saved. I phoned my husband to come home or find a reason to get home as soon as possible. On the 18th, both Astrid and Morton confronted me in the park and wanted to know why I was keeping Julestern away from them due to a misunderstanding. I told them politely, Morton is a big guy and I am not as strong as him, that my husband was home. I lied. They walked away. I phoned the police and gave them the latest evidence on the harassment, but they said they would have a word with the 2. On Monday, I attended a meeting with the principal and the teacher where she apologized but made it out to be a misunderstanding. The principal was very nice and told the teacher sternly to back off and not mix her professional and personal life. Astrid and Morton came by my house that evening, and while I was attending to the laundry in the basement, they were talking to my girl in the garden, and she let slip that her dad wasn't home yet. They gave her some cookies, but she threw them in the outside bin while they watched. On Tuesday, they confronted us on the way to school and asked me why I lied about my husband. Luckily, I was not alone, and one of the neighbors on my street told them to back off. On the way back from picking her up at the end of the day, we took a taxi home. In the evening, they were banging on my door again, and they had their sons with them. I called the police, but they only arrived after they had left. I discussed it with my husband on the phone, and he managed to get 3 days off, but he won't be home before this weekend, as his workplace did not see it as an emergency until yesterday's incident. Yesterday, they came by again while we were in the park. I was preoccupied with my son, and I noticed a tap on my shoulder. It was Morton holding my daughter, and he said I should take better care of her, as she might walk into the road while my attention is elsewhere. He made it out as if she had run into the street, but my daughter denied it. I grabbed her and the other children and left and packed some stuff. I asked my next-door neighbor to collect my mail and hold on to it while I booked a hotel. She informed me that the post office will do it for free for 14 days, but she will look out for my house and note if they come by again. Word has gone around that they're being a bit weird about my daughter. So my neighbor said it's best to keep documentation in case they call Child Protection Services on us, and to get a copy and confirmation from the police that there is bad blood between us. My husband can deal with the paperwork and the aftermath and join us when he can arrange a transfer, but I am not staying here anymore. Top comment. Wow, reading the original post and this update made the hair on the back of my neck rise. Everything about them set off my creeper alarm. I'm glad you are trusting your instincts and getting you and your family out of there. Your daughter is not safe around them. Good luck getting out of there, original poster. Update 2. A lot has happened in the last few days. I do not want to give too many details as this story has been leaked to other social media without my approval. I also do not want Astrid and Morton to find this now that it is on several platforms. I am at my parents' place. We are all safe now. My husband will be joining us in the new year once he sorts out his new assignment. I will not say what country we are in now, as my husband said that Astrid came by the house under the guise of giving us Christmas cookies 2 days ago, wondering why my daughter had not been at school. He told her politely to leave. Before leaving, I only told the principal and not her teacher. The principal understood and said it was her responsibility to relay that information to the class and the teacher. Today, she was at our place again, asking him where she was, as the principal told the class that my daughter was sad to leave them, but we had moved. No other details given. She made her school friends drawings that were given to them. Sad as it is, I do not want her to contact her friends in case they say something to the wrong person. My daughter will make new friends and hopefully will not miss her Norwegian friends too much. I did tell 2 of my closest neighbors on the day I was leaving, but they were always on friendly terms with me, and they were on my side all along. To be honest, I do not know where my husband might get sent next. For now, we are all safe. Thank you for all the support. I know I did not reply to all, but I had a lot going on. Please do not hold it against me.
What do you think about this situation? Who do you think is a jerk, and who did the right thing? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the Sneaky Pigeon channel to get more cool and interesting stories. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.